Hey, 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 it's Fat Albert. No, just kidding, guys. Welcome back to Freedom Empowered. It's Nick and Mason, not Fat Albert. But we got another interview for you guys. We got a lot of positive feedback on the first interview. So I think we're going to do a lot more interviews from now on.
Well, Nick didn't actually partake in this interview, but this is one of my buddies. His name is Gervon Simon. He actually has his own podcast. He has a couple things. So I interviewed him because um, he definitely is achieving his own personal definition of freedom, or he's on the path to doing so, and he has a unique uh, two things. He has a unique version of personal freedom, one, and two, he is actually taking massive action to make it happen. And his podcast is called Dream, Achieve, and Succeed with Gervon Simon. Great podcast. Very smart guy. He is a officer in the United States Army, and but his passion is real estate. That's what he wants to do. And the great part about it is when I interviewed him, he was in the process of getting his real estate license. Now he has it, and he's making moves on um, making his dream come true. He's working with professionals in the industry. He got his license. He owns properties already. He has his own podcast because he wants to get into public speaking. And all around, he knows what he wants, and he's taking action to get him there. And that's something that you guys should be inspired by, because when you see him, you talk about obstacles, you talk about working that 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., how you create success. He is in the Army, he's very busy, but he doesn't let that hold him back, and he doesn't say that, hey, I already have a job, I can't do more. He is doing whatever it takes to make it happen, and he's being successful at it. There's no excuses for Gervon Simon, and there shouldn't be excuses for you guys either. So throughout this episode, if you're interested in real estate or you're interested in podcasting, because we do talk a little bit about podcasting, you should definitely pay attention. And you should
Yeah,
definitely.
well, or if you're even just interested in hearing a story of someone pursuing their personal freedom. Like last interview, we talked to someone who was already there. This interview, we're talking to someone who's working their way there.
Right. Yeah. And not only is he working his way there, but it's actually happening. And you could see how you take little steps to get to where you want to go. You don't just say, I want to be a public speaker and talk to thousands of people. You don't just say, hey, I want to have a real estate empire. You start off small. You start off with little steps. You start off building that skill set. And that's what he's doing. There's by no means does he want to be a real estate broker for a company and just work for somebody else. He specifically talks about it multiple times in the interview that he does not like taking instructions from people. He likes doing his own thing. He doesn't like being told what to do. But the first step is to build that skill set and that knowledge base, and that's what he's doing by getting his real estate license and by just getting his feet wet in the business. So, without further ado, I would say go ahead and give it a listen and let us know what you guys think. What's up, everyone? It's Mason.
And of course, Gervon.
So what we're going to talk about today is kind of show you how our two shows are very similar. And I've talked about this before, but you think that I'm crazy, or if any of Gervon's listeners think that he's crazy for having a very unique view on the world and on business and on life, we're going to try to prove you that there's more than one person that has the same view, and hopefully there's millions of you out there that also think the same way.
No, I'm sure there definitely are. There definitely are. Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I don't know if I've talked about my principles of like really working and things like that before, because a lot of times I kind of just focus on, the individual and the different things that a person can do individually to get a step ahead. But I never really talked too much about, I guess, being an entrepreneur or going after different things in your life that you may want to do rather than just working a 9 to 5 and not being happy.
Right.
And things like that. And I'm pretty sure that you have, but I just never have really talked about that. So
Hmm.
I definitely like to dive into it, especially with you who has a similar mentality, and we're in a really similar situation. Both graduating from West Point and
Right.
being in the Army, and kind of realizing what we do and don't want, and understanding that right now what we're doing isn't exactly what we want to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Something that's unique about what we talk about on my show is it's not even necessarily being an entrepreneur, but it's simply doing whatever it is that you want. Because some people don't value money, and I don't think that having like if you don't want to have your own business or you don't want to have a lot of money, I think it's totally fine. So that's kind of where I angle from. But
exactly.
but I know that you are very business oriented, just as an individual. So me too. But I also kind of like to touch on all the different bases usually with when I'm talking.
Yeah, no, I agree as well, because honestly, like when it comes to like what I've said about before, like you don't always have to be a 100% entrepreneur to be happy or to do what you want to do. You might be happy working a job, but at the end of the day, a lot of the things that I'm talking about, they transfer over to being an entrepreneur, and they also transfer over to working a 9 to 5 job, especially if it's something that you really are passionate about and really like to do. And it gives you that freedom to kind of work and do what's best for you.
Right. And if you want to do your own thing and you want to, even if your passion isn't business, if you want to be able to do it full time, you got to find a way to monetize it. You know what I mean? Because let's say
Absolutely.
your absolute dream is to surf. Well, if you want to surf more than in the mornings and you want to make it a full time thing, you're going to have to find a way to monetize it so that you can sustain yourself, even if it is just your hobby. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's like I'm the kind of person where I don't enjoy being told what to do. I don't like, people saying, "Hey, you got to go do this or you got to do that." And it's like, man, I'm not passionate about that. That doesn't really fire me up every day. That's not what I'm happy doing. And so if it's not really helping me or making me be happy, then I can't make sense of why people would not want to go be an entrepreneur or go do at least something that makes them happy. Because if like I said, if you're not happy, then you're not gonna be as effective as you can be. And honestly, I think money wise, it just makes so much sense to be an entrepreneur. Like there's reasons why business owners, not just like multimillionaire business owners, but even like regular entrepreneurs who just, or small business owners, that on the street, or that might run a store down the street. There's a reason why they get more tax advantages than people who go and work a 9 to 5.
Right.
And you know what I'm
And
saying? And yeah,
I completely agree. And I think what a lot of people will say, there at least from when I've talked to people, because I try to talk to people in my personal life too, because I think that has been such a good move for me. But they always say, well, what if working a 9 to 5, it's a steady job, it's relaxing. Like, what if I don't want to put in the work to build my own company or to? And what I say is, first, if you put in a little bit of extra work up front, you might have to work after hours. They say that the majority of millionaires are created between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. But if you put in that couple of years of work up front where you're doing more than just working a job, then later on in life, when you just own your own business, you don't have to put in as much work because you're owning the business. And two, just money wise, the average small business makes between $300,000 and $500,000 a year. So that's more than directors of agencies make. That's more than three-star generals make. You know what I mean? So for someone that
exactly.
right, just to own a small business that's decently successful, you can make more money if that's what you want than even a surgeon. So I don't not understand the argument. I think people are just afraid to take action and try something new.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, one thing that also people don't understand is that in order to get bigger in business, I'm actually kind of reading about that now in this book that I'm reading. It's called a millionaire real estate agent, because I'm going to get my license, or I'm going to take the test for my license on Friday. And I'm reading that book because it helps out a lot with being an agent, but it also has a lot of business principles in it as well. And they say that being a real estate agent is a lot like just being your own entrepreneur because you're an independent contractor working under another company, and everything you do is honestly completely on your own, unless you're like, under a more controlling firm. So for what I'll be doing is pretty much all on my own and all individual based. But the gist of what I'm trying to say is, in the book it says, it talks about how once you get to the point to where you're getting so many clients calling you and trying to reach out to you to represent them, you then have to make the decision, okay, either I take on less clientele or I put in systems to get to scale even bigger and become better, which is, putting in systems might be, an assistant, maybe even owning your own brokerage. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is that at first, when you become an entrepreneur and you open your business, you might have to be there every day. You might have to put in extra hours, even more hours than when you work a 9 to 5. But once you really put in a lot of effort and make good decisions with your business and it starts to grow and become popular, down the line, it starts to become a passive income stream if you put in the things in place in order to make it to where you can only have to go in, once or twice a week just to check in on everybody. And you got a manager running the whole show, and you're literally collecting the vast majority of the money that the business is making because of the time you put in, what you built, and the decisions that you made. And a lot of people don't understand that, is that down the line, there's, obviously a financial benefit, but it's also a time benefit. You put the work in up front, and in the long run, like, you don't even have to work if you don't have to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
One of the examples that I usually use is, I know a guy who he's in the Domino's franchising business, and I've been looking a lot into franchising just because it's previously successful. You don't have to really market too much, and it's all pretty much taken care of. But at the same time, you're owning your own business. But the example I use is a guy I know, he owns a Domino's, and he took out a large loan, and he really bit the bullet up front, and he was working, 7 days a week, covering shifts, trying to find good people to work for him, trying to learn how to run this business. And it was a legit 4 or 5 years of grinding in an unglamorous job where people go, hey, like, that's not fun. That's, I don't know, like, is working at a fast food restaurant what you want to do? But now 5 years down the road, he's making $300,000 a year and doesn't work. He has someone that runs his business for him, and he's every other week in the Caribbean or in, some ski resort, because he's making way too much money just because he took the risk to become an owner of a business. And that's the key, is being an owner, because if you're not an owner and you're just an employee, you can get a raise and you can get, a promotion, but only to what point? Because at the end of the day, the business is, all you're doing is helping someone else make their business better. You're helping someone else make their dreams and goals come true. So until you take the risk to become an owner of something, you're not going to be able to enjoy that level of success.
Absolutely. And one thing that I always say, and I think I got this from one of the many books I've read, is when you're an employee, the difference between a business owner and an employee is that a business owner is his dream, and he's paying other people to build his dream, whereas employees are building other people's dreams. You're building the business owner's dream. Like, you're literally, you're just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The more I think about it, it's just like, why would I want to go and get a job? Like, why would I want to go out and try to apply for a job and build up my resume when I can easily build something, not easily, but when I can go and build something, even if it's a pizza shop, even if it's, I don't know, like a clothing store or something, something small like that, I can still build it and have it be my own and not really have anybody come in and tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying? So that, yeah.
Well, I actually heard this quote one time, and it said, your paycheck is just the bribe that you're willing to take to throw your dreams away. And it's like, what amount of money people go, and so this is something that I've talked to people about, which it's no skin off anyone's back, and I'm not focusing on money here, but money's the focal point of business. So people will say, hey, like, I just got an offer for a $70,000 a year job, or a $65,000 a year job, $80,000, even if it was $100,000. What is $100,000? Like, if you own your own business and you put in the work to be successful, you're talking upwards of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, if not finding major success and making millions of dollars. So I think people's just they've scaled their vision of success back. And that's kind of what I talk about on my show. Is I think that society has built this mold of what success is. It's, hey, you gotta grow up, you gotta waste your younger years just goofing off, then you gotta go to college and get a degree in something that may or may not matter, and then just find an occupation in the field that you studied. And there's no college, there's no schooling that can teach you how to be an entrepreneur, teach you how to own your own business. All college is good for employees. It's good for people who want to turn $35,000 a year into $50,000. You know what I mean? It can help you out if you're going to be an employee, but there's nothing that teaches you how to take on the risk and take the unique action to go and start your own business or anything like that.
Absolutely, and it kind of sucks, and especially like when it comes to where we went to school and everything. I'm always a type that's a nonconformist. I don't like I said multiple times, I don't like being told what to do at all. Like I like to do what I want to do. Not saying that like I don't do anything, but I just like to do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if I want to work, I want to work towards something that I'm passionate about. And I think during my time at West Point, and then after I graduated in my time in the Army, I'm starting to see more and more people of becoming brainwashed, or people not brainwashed, but people who are just like, oh, well, this is just work. This is just, how I pay my bills. Or some people say, oh, it's just easy. And I'm like, it's easy, but I don't know. Just to me, it doesn't make sense to why you wouldn't want to pursue something more. And that's just how I am. They're like, again, in that book that I read, it says, when people live by the rules all the time, they're just sticking to the rules and they're not really being creative. They're not really using their minds. They're just following what someone else tells you to do. And I've always been the type of person that asks why. You know what I'm saying? I'm always like why can't I do that? Or if there's a rule for us to do something, especially at school. I broke rules all the time at West Point. I mean, haven't we all? But yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't let that hold me back. And it says that the people who are willing to break the rules and think outside of the box are the ones who are creative, who are the ones that think further ahead, and they're the ones who go on to do better and bigger things in their lives. And like you said, it's no knock on somebody who wants to go get a job and who's comfortable doing that. That's fine. But I also don't want to hear that same person complain about their job or complain about the money that they make if they're not willing to put in more to go do it. You know what I'm saying? Or say that they don't have the opportunity to do it when they do.
Right. I mean, when you think about it, how many people that are going out there and looking for work, how many of them are Googling, hey, like, what are the jobs that fit my degree and what are the steps to get to that, to make that a success? But how many people go, hey, I don't want to just go find a job that's already in existence. How do I create a job for myself?
Exactly.
It's the land of opportunity. But I think, and my show is called Freedom Empowered, so we talk about freedom. But I think that the American definition of freedom has kind of been skewed. I think that, yeah, we're free, but what people consider freedom is just building a life where you can go get some education and then get a job, and then you can have a 9-to-5 job making enough money to be comfortable, own a house, start a family, and live happily ever after. And that's fine if that's what you want, but there's a lot of people who are not like satisfied with that, who want more out of life, and they just there's no one to teach them to get there. And I think that that's kind of why we both started our podcast, is because we've discovered how easy it is to do your own thing and be successful, and two, how fun it is. I think there's one of the biggest reasons why people aren't satisfied with life today is because what human beings are made for is to grow and to learn things and to kind of expand their imagination, their knowledge base. And I don't think it's healthy and or what people were made to do to just work a 9-to-5 job in something that isn't their passion, just to build a paycheck, to go and have to do what they love to do on the weekends or after work. You don't own anything. Like, you don't have anything that's yours. You didn't create anything. Like, that's not, I think people feed off it. And I know that I do personally, and I'm sure you do too. I love doing my podcast. I love working on my other business ventures. It's enjoyable to me because I know that I own this and I'm working for something that's my own.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, no, I completely agree because, when when I'm at work, like I go so I go the extra mile to pursue my own passions. Even at work, like I'll admit it. Like if I'm not really busy, whereas I'm not gonna go find extra work that I have to do or that somebody wants me to do or go ask around and say, hey, is there anything you want me to do? Where they're gonna give me something that I really don't have to do, and they just want me to do it. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes time for me, like I always look at free time or time where I'm in between assignments or something like that as the perfect opportunity to expand what I'm trying to do. I mean, I took there's what Washington requires 90 hours for the real estate exam, or like you have to take a 90-hour class and then go pass the exam. So I took the class. I started last Wednesday. I ended and I finished not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, and then I just finished on Friday. So in 10 days, I finished my 90-hour class, my 90-hour requirement, and passed that little test, and now I got to go pass the state test, and I'm like, not a lot of people would do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it just goes to show how we both think alike. Way more passionate about real estate than I am my job. I think I literally think to myself, man, it just pays the bills for now. You know what I'm saying? Because I know in the long, like this isn't the long run. This isn't what I want. Like, and and it's fine. Some people love the military. Some people love the jobs. It's just not something that's for me, I don't think. And I think I'm just not the type of person that likes to be held down by rules.
Right. So, have you heard of the podcast Jocko Willink? Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't.
So he's a former Navy SEAL, but what he talks about is he does talk about the military to kind of grow people and try to teach them different ideals. But what he says is everyone needs to be on a war path is what he talks about it as. And some people say it's a gladiator mindset. But the way I look at it is you need to have a mission in life in general. And that's what a lot of people fail to do is they fail to create their own mission. If you're in the military, I think that, kind of getting off on a tangent here, but a lot of reason why people will get out of the military and then not be satisfied with their life is because they're used to having a mission in front of them and having someone give them, a set of tasks. But when you get out of the military or just in life in general, you don't have somebody, even if you're getting out of school. In school, you have homework, you have tests, you have like the checklist of things that you have to go and accomplish. But then when you're in the real world, it's, hey, I have to create my own mission. I have to create my own checklist of tasks to accomplish. And people don't see it as that, and they fail to do that. And that's that's how you can be successful outside of the military, outside of college, outside of school, is you have to be able to sit down and be like, here's my goals for the week, here's my goals for the months, here's my goals for the year. And that's how you can become successful on a personal level.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more because, I mean, I think I talked about that, maybe about like goal setting and stuff before in one of my earlier podcasts. But yeah, man, like I think the biggest thing that drives me, like I've always been a big picture guy. Like I'm not, even to this day, like, even though I preach about being an entrepreneur and even like short-term goal setting, it's kind of hard for me to create a checklist for myself. Like it's hard for me to do that, like just for a day. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. It's hard for me to follow it and stick with it, and my mind is always going. But I always have a big picture in my head, and one of the biggest picture for me, honestly, is eventually one day I plan to have kids, and I don't want to be the type of person that I'm like I get a call from one of my children while they're in school, and they say, oh, we need someone to go pick them up, and I can't go pick them up because I'm at work, or if I go pick them up at work, then I'm losing out on a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. I want to be
providing for them. It's providing for your kids.
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, 100%. And like, I want to be able to literally do everything that I can with, my future kids and my family, because that's just, I mean, I haven't always been that way. I might have used to mainly just focused on the money, but then now as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize, like we're planning a wedding and stuff, and I'm starting to really look into the future and think about like, okay, what do I want life to be like in, 4 or 5 years versus, what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, do I want to go buy a nice car right now? No, I don't. I want to go be able to provide for my family and literally spend every minute of the day with them if I can.
Right. And a lot of people, they might talk shit on having money or being wealthy, and I think that money has been really demonized in society, but it's really about security. It's about providing for your family. I was reading this thing, or I think it might have been a podcast I was listening to, but they were talking about, hey, you think money's not important. What happens when your wife gets cancer or one of your kids gets sick? You know what I mean? Like, what saves them? Is it that you were a good person? Was that you lived a humble life and just worked your job and was a loving father who? No, it wasn't. It was, do you have the money to take care of your family? Do you have the money to get through hard times, to provide for your kids, to give them a college education, to protect them from sickness? You know what I mean? And to do
absolutely.
that, you can't just be reliant on an employer to give you a job. You have to control your own source of income. You have to control your own job, and you have to have the knowledge and the skills to be successful. If you get fired, let's say you get fired, this happens to people all the time. People get fired from jobs just because they're nearing their pension, or they're getting paid too much money where they can hire someone that's younger to do the same job, and then they get fired in their 50s or in their late 40s, and they have no knowledge, they have no skills, and they have put in zero effort to develop their human capital outside of that one job that they've been working since they were young.
Exactly.
And they're lost. And then not only are you screwed, but your family could be screwed, your kids could be screwed. And
Exactly. No, and two things I'll say off of that is, for the people out there that hate on others who have a lot of money, number one, you can hate on people with money all you want and say, oh, the big rich people, I don't know, whatever you want to say. But number one, I guarantee you each and every single person saying that would trade places with the people with money. And if you don't, then you're just dumb. And number two is that, and I don't know if you listen to Andy Frisella's podcast, I kind of refer to him a lot because he kind of gave me the motivation to start a podcast. But Andy Frisella, he says a lot, and it makes sense, is that the people who have money are some of the best people. The people who've literally built their businesses, expanded, their skills and built a life for them that literally everybody else wants, are some of the best people in the world. Because what people don't understand is that, and I say this a lot in my podcast, is that you have to be able to add value to other people's lives. And if you're not valuable, you're not going to make money in life, or you're not going to make a lot or more than, the average person. And the people who are making that much money and who are rich and who are on TV and all of those things, especially the businessmen and businesswomen, is that they add so much more value to other people's lives than the average person. And you don't do that 9 times out of 10. You're not doing that by being a bad person. You know what I'm saying? Like you have abilities to, build relationships with people when you speak to them and network and really, I don't know. There's just so much that goes into it, and I just don't understand why people have a negative connotation to those who have money. Money isn't everything, but it gives you the ability to have everything, in my opinion.
Money doesn't change who you are. What it does is it exemplifies and magnifies the person you are. So if you're a shitty person, then you give a shitty person $1 million, and you're going to see just how shitty they are and shallow they are tenfold. But you give a good person money, they're going to do good things. They're going to go and help people. They're going to go and change the world, perhaps. And I just think that I think that maybe why people get that mentality is because some people that want money are shitty people because all they care about is the money. But if you're going to let that discourage you from going out there and starting your own business because the fear of money, like, what if I become rich, I'm going to be a horrible person? That's not even a good argument, I don't think.
Exactly. I mean, and the people who do get money and don't know how to act with it and do bad things with it are the same people who, I mean, they just had bad principles and bad character in their life. You know what I'm saying? And that's just, it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, man, like I said, being an entrepreneur, open your own business, and that's something I encourage everybody to do, whether it's, no matter what your passion is. I mean, I met a salesman last week, and he's really good at what he does, and he makes a lot of money. Never went to college, makes way more than the average person. He moved from LA. He was super successful in the California, LA area, and he moved up to the Seattle area, and he's killing it again up there. That just kind of goes to show how good he is at what he does. And I didn't really bring it up, but in my head, I was just thinking like, man, why don't you just open your own business? Figure out, either partner with somebody who has a great, tech product or something, or I don't know, or come up with a product or find a product that you can sell and do it that way. Because, he was complaining about, his desk being next to the director of sales for the whole floor. And I'm like, fuck that. Go get your own job, or go open your own company. Then you don't got to worry about it. You can do and say whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just, but I just think differently. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how I think and how I'm wired. But,
right. You just have to be comfortable breaking barriers and doing your own thing. And I'll ask you a question, because something that I've encountered when I talk to people about being an individual and going and starting your own thing, they always say, well, I don't even know what I want to do. Like, I have no idea. And that's a big barrier for people, just to figure out what they're interested in or what kind of business they want to create. So, how did you discover that you were interested in real estate, one? And then, yeah, I start there.
So, I don't know. I've always been the type of person that, I do what makes sense. And I've always known that I wanted to do something in business, but for the longest time, I couldn't tell you what it was. Even in my business classes at West Point, I was always interested in it. I always did really well in them. I mean, they're not super hard to do well in, but everything just made a lot of sense to me, but I just couldn't pinpoint what it was that I wanted to do. And I could never, it's hard for me to come up with, good ideas on my own. I'm not the type of person that's going to invent the wheel, but I can build a business around building, someone who invented the wheel. You know what I'm saying? That's that's the way 100%. I think. So I read, somebody pointed a book in my direction. I'd never heard about it before. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it was really life-changing for me, just because it changed my whole mentality of how I thought about things. It changed my whole mentality, how I thought about business. And it kind of just gave me the introduction to real estate. And that kind of sent me, that was the summer, I finished it this summer going into my junior year. And that kind of sent me down a warpath towards studying both the stock market and companies and stuff like that, and in real estate. And what I've learned is, I'll say this. I used, some money that I had saved, and I invested it in the stock market. And I actually, over a 3.5 month period, not that is anything crazy. I wasn't day trading or anything. I was just, investing in a specific strategy that I had found through my reading and studying. And I beat the stock market, but I had made less than $1,000. It was $800 in 3 months. And I'm like, I just made more than the stock market performs. Everybody says go put your money in the stock market, save, put your money away and let it grow slowly into this big nest egg so you can retire. And, if you want to do that, that's fine. But obviously, I'm not the type of person that just does that. So, and it kind of just made me realize okay, I'm not going to invest my money in something that's going to earn slow money, because that's just slow. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I've also understood that if I took that same money, took a loan out, and then bought a property with it, then my returns per month is a lot better. And so that kind of just got me started to really look into real estate and understand it. And the more I really read about it, I understand, and I really believed in the principles of real estate investing. And now I'm at a point, and I'm in a place where the market, or the cost per house, really is just so high out here in Washington, especially in Tacoma, Seattle really, but Tacoma, it's going up as well. You have to have a decent amount of money to get an investment property specifically. So that's why now I'm a real estate agent, or I'm going to become a real estate agent, because I know so much about real estate because of the 10, 15 books I've read. I was listening to podcasts every single day, sometimes 2-3 podcasts a day the amount of time and effort I put into real estate, it just made so much sense, because it's something that I already know. I'm not saying I'm a real estate expert, but I have way more knowledge of it than the average individual. And so I was just it just makes sense. And then I took the course, and probably about 70% of the course I already knew. And I was just, you know what I'm saying? It just all it's all starting to come together. And yeah, man, it's a long version of it, but that's kind of where I'm at, and how I got started in the real estate.
Right. It goes to show, though, it goes to show that everyone thinks that you need to learn from somebody else. You need to go to college or get some sort of formal education to develop skills and knowledge. But you don't, because, like you just said it yourself, you just read some books, listened to some podcasts, and put in some work on the individual level, and you can develop the skill set to be able to get into a business like real estate without having a 5-year degree, 4-year degree, whatever it is, master's degree in, real estate. And
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, if I could go back and do it all over, I might. Other than my dream to play college football, if you take that out of my life, then I might even consider foregoing college, studying real estate in high school, and just getting out and starting that right away, because it's just such a lucrative business, and especially when it comes to especially whenever it comes to investing, man, there's just so many tax advantages. Like, there's a reason why Donald Trump didn't pay any taxes for how many years. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you think about him, there's a reason why he didn't do it, and it's because he's the biggest real estate mogul probably of all time. You know what I'm saying? And it's just
100%.
yeah, and so just all of it just made so much sense to me, and like I said, I think for myself going forward, and even if you look at a lot of other really wealthy people, a lot of them own apartment buildings and, properties and everything. I can tell you stories of people that I've ran into that are real estate investors and do well for themselves. People that have gone to West Point, people who haven't even gone to college, even some people who didn't go to high school or finish high school. So, yeah. But so what do you? I know you were handing out free T-shirts at the wedding the other weekend. So what are you guys doing with that? Like, what type of business did you open with your friend?
So, yeah, we have kind of a plan set up, but at first, I like to say that we're on the beginning level, like the low level of business, and especially while we have jobs to work, it's a little hard to fully invest time and effort into starting your own business. So we thought about it. Hey, what can we do now that has potential to, one, teach us skills, and two, maybe even be successful? And the first thing was the podcast, because just it doesn't take that much time, and I think that it helps us express the mentality that we've learned to other people. And I think the second thing that the podcast does is it teaches us a lot, because one of the things we do is we'll have episodes on just random people that are successful. We've done them on Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, all these people that have been successful. So we get to analyze them, and then we learn from the things that they've done. And it's helped us go out there and start other things. So one thing that we're doing, and I haven't really talked about it at all on the podcast, but we started it's technically an outdoor equipment store business, but we don't have really anything other than some clothing and then some other small accessories. But yeah, right now it's an internet-based business, because we're in a location where I don't think it's the best to to actually get a building and open a store or anything. But yeah, so we're trying to push. It's like a hobby base. So the podcast is like, how do you change your life? And then this other business is, hey, well, it's not how do you change your life, but if you have a hobby, how do we help you in your time off to get a better hobby or to enjoy yourself to the fullest extent? And one of the things that's really interesting about it is people like it. Like, it's not, the podcast it's been accepted pretty well just in general, but for this other one, we focus on snowboarding, we focus on surfing and hiking, and so we're constantly trying to push this exploration mindset, and at the same time, hopefully within the next couple years, we're gonna be able to be selling product that helps you get started in a bunch of different hobbies and sports across the board. But obviously, I just said as of now we're just selling some clothing, but it's not that. Hey, you got a T-shirt? It's not.
I do have a T-shirt. I have a T-shirt.
Right, and it's not
It's
about.
pretty dope. I can't lie, it's pretty dope. I wore it the other day.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing to start, and that just goes to show that anyone can start it. You could be working a 80-hour a week job. You could be working your ass off and still have a side hustle. Absolutely. It doesn't take, especially with the advent of the internet and internet businesses, you can run a full business from your house a couple hours a night. You buy a website, and websites, they cost $200 a year for a website, and then that's it. And you can open a store and be selling product to the entire world. And that's another thing. It's better than a store, because a store only reaches the the people in the surrounding area. But with a website, you have 7 billion people, potential buyers. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, how many people out there go to work and bullshit on Instagram anyways? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can easily turn your Instagram into a business. I mean, look at like half of like the most popular Instagram followers. You take out just celebrities. Look at those Instagram users, sorry. Look at those Instagram users who have, thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of followers, and look at what they do. They promote themselves so much, and they promote what they do so much. And it's so easy to turn your Instagram page or your Twitter page or your Facebook page, or even create a Facebook page about your business. And you can use it, you get a 5-minute break in between, what you're doing at work. Get on your phone, maybe make a post, go like something, send a message, whatever, get back off. I mean, I send text, I send emails, I go on Instagram all the time and look at different things, or try to figure out different ways that I can use it and most effectively manage my time while I'm at work and in between what I have to do in order to build my, my real estate business. And right now, obviously, I can't really do much because I don't have my license yet. But, with literally in less than a week, I'm hoping to change that. So it's definitely something that I agree 100%. The internet is an amazing thing. It can be good and it can be bad. It can be the biggest time waster of all time, or it could be something that you use to your advantage to literally put food on your table.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just all about how you use it and the mindset that you have and what you're trying to do. And I wish that they had, something. I wish I in the long run, like I said before, people who end up becoming successful end up helping other people in a lot of ways. You look at athletes who give back. LeBron James just opened an I Promise Academy, whatever. And not saying I'm going to do anything like that, but one thing that I do want to do is I want to figure out a way to influence high school kids and maybe even teach high school kids, maybe in my hometown or anywhere really, to really understand that, like, what it means to be successful in the real world, and give them life skills that'll help them make more money over their life than any high school class would have, taught them. I took entrepreneurship and strategic management in college, and those were honestly probably the two best classes I've ever took in terms of business, because marketing too, it helped a lot too. But those three classes really just helped me so much with understanding, one, how to run a business is strategic management, two, how to, the aspects of marketing and, your target audience, and just the really basic stuff that I had no idea about that nobody ever teaches you, especially in high school. And then entrepreneurship, just obviously, entrepreneurship, we talked about so many different aspects of being an entrepreneur and opening up your own businesses. We went to a business plan competition, pitched a presentation, did that whole thing. And I mean, it's like those three classes and those experiences that I had really kind of propelled me to even understand that in a time where I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, propelled me towards the idea of I'm going to be an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be a business owner one day. I'm not going to, just sit around and just, I don't know, work a 9-to-5 job and be laid off or something. Like, fuck that. I'm going to go do what I want to do. And if I crash and fall, I'm sure I'll get back up and keep fighting. So
completely. And when you talk about, you mentioned LeBron James, but it goes to show that you need to be successful if you want to help people. Even if your only goal is to be a servant and to help other people, you still have to be successful, and you have to have, at least a decent amount of money to even start thinking about impacting people on a big level. The reason why he's able to reach out to so many people is because he is successful and he has money and he's able to invest in other people's future. But if you just want to, if you just only care about helping people but you have no money, Like, okay, you can go volunteer at the local animal shelter, but what like
That's exactly what I was
how many
thinking.
people can you help? If you want to change the world, you have to, one, have enough money and success to be able to fund it, and two, you know what, an even better way is to find a way to monetize helping other people, to turn it into a business. Because if you can create some sort of business that helps people but at the same time generates at least some money to where you're not just losing a profit off of it, then guess what, you're helping people, and it's a self-sustaining, service,
Exactly. No, I agree. I mean, who helps? I'll ask you this. Who is really impacting more lives? The person who volunteers at the homeless shelter, or the person who owns the
the
or the
person who
homeless
owns
shelter?
it.
Exactly.
I don't think why, if you're going to go, I mean, no skin off your back if you're a nice person who wants to go feed homeless people, but what if you created a business where you were able to hire a couple hundred homeless people to do a job for you, and were able to pay them, give them job skills, and build them up to where later on they can get a different job and get back on their feet and possibly own a house one day and just live their life. But giving them food's awesome, but I like to
Yeah.
think that there's a success doesn't hurt anybody, it just helps everybody.
No, yeah, exactly. Especially whenever success is in the right hands of the right people. And like I said, most people who are successful, usually, not all the time, but usually are good people who do in turn help a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. Well, it was awesome talking to you, man. My
Yeah,
phone's actually about to die. So,
it's all good.
um, but yeah, man, I'm glad we got to reach out and do this. We may have to do this again, man, because I feel
It
like we
will.
could have
We
talked for like
definitely
2
will.
hours.
All right.
All right, man. I'll
Sounds
talk to you
good.
later. All right.